Shabbat Shalom, family. We're here today to get another message here at the Vineyard of Israel. I'll be teaching in the absence of my cousin, Moray, or Pastor Al. Last night, we had like a brick or foundation that I would say that we laid for the lesson today. Basically, last night, what we spoke on was about a lot of cities that our people thrived in back in the day, such as Tulsa, Oklahoma, quote-unquote Black Wall Street, Durham, North Carolina, Birmingham, things of that nature. And we even had a city here that thrived called Slocum, Texas. And they were all eventually destroyed. So I was speaking about how our people give a lot of praise to these cities. Like we had a big festival in Tulsa, Oklahoma this year, and a lot of people from all over went out to go celebrate it, you know, which Tulsa did thrive financially. But the point I was making is, are we to praise this? Like, what was the reason for that downfall? Because the Most High promised us, as long as we stay within His guidelines, rules, and regulation, that He would always protect us, you know? So we went over some things, and we talked about some things that was occurring in these cities, and just thought about the reasoning behind it, and asked ourselves, was this the reason that the city fell? Because the cities did thrive, but they all failed. So today, what I'm going to be talking about is the government of the Most High Yah. Because if they would have established their government on the foundation of the Most High and what our Messiah, Jesus, or Yeshua laid for us, they would have been protected, right? So today we're going to go over some scriptures just dealing with how the Most High really planned us to set up our government when we do have the opportunity to rule. You know, we even had recently a family of 15 to 17 friends. They got together and they purchased a large amount of land in Georgia, and they starting their own city. So we're going to go over some of these scriptures just to see how the Most High intends us to govern our land. You know, if we was to set up a government, how should we be running things and operating, right? Because He gave us examples all through the book. If we want to know anything to gain wisdom, well, we look in the book, right? So we're going to start out today at Acts chapter 6, verses 7 through 15. And this is just going to be dealing with something that Stephen had to deal with. You know, when he was spreading the message of our Messiah, Yeshua, he went around, he went teaching the gospel, and he ran into some issues. Because whenever you speak it right in a word that's wicked, you're going to have enemies, because those people who you speaking against are going to want to take you down. They're not going to want to see you stay up, because your right teaching is what's going to destroy everything that they have, right? So we're going to start at Acts chapter 6 and verse 7. When you get there, go ahead and read, brother.
And the word of Yah increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly, and a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith.
So there was an increase in the numbers of the believers in the Messiah. Keep going.
And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people.
So he was full of the spirit of the Ruach, right? He say he was full of faith and power. He did great wonders and miracles because he was filled with the Spirit. Keep going.
Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and Cyrenians, and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen.
So these people come from all over, and they arguing with Stephen, right? Keep reading.
And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they suborned men, which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against Yah.
So they wasn't able to actually contend with Stephen. So what they did was they plotted against him, and they had men to come up and bear false witness to lie, right? That's a strategy that they used, and they said that he did what? Read verse 11 again.
Then they suborned men, which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses.
So they saying that he spoke blasphemous words against Moses and against who?
Against God.
So they were lying, right? Because they didn't have this against them. Keep reading.
And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council.
So we're going to slow it down. We're going to focus in verse 12 who came against this man? It says they stirred up the people, the elders, the scribes came upon him, right? These are the people back in the day who had positions of power, right? They got these people together. They brought them into the council. Keep going, 13.
And set up false witnesses.
They lied against him. They set up people to go lie against him, right? And we still see this type of stuff being used in modern day times. You know, like you'll have the CIA who will set up implants inside of organizations and everything just to take it down. You know, they'll go lie. They'll set them up to go shoot, go do this to make everything look bad. You know, we seen it happen in the Black Panther movement and all of those type of things, right? Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. They always had put in a plant, but these people was the people in power who went against Stephen. They set up liars against him, and what did they say?
We said, this man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law.
So they saying he spoke words against the holy place and the law, right? Keep going.
For we have heard him say that this Yeshua of Nazareth shall destroy this place and shall change the customs which Moses delivered us.
So they saying he's speaking against the law, that he was planning to change the customs of Moshe or Moses, right? Keep going.
And all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel.
So everybody who sat in there looked at his face, and it was like it was of an angel. They could see the spirit upon this man. So they knew that the false witnesses, everything that they were saying was lies, right? Because he was going due to the spirit, right? So he never spoke destruction of the temple, right? Now, he also saying that he was spreading the message that Yeshua was coming to go against the Torah or the law and all of those things, right? So let's keep going. Let's go to Genesis 7 real quick. And we're going to come back to Acts after that. Because earlier, before that, you know, we would read where Stephen basically, in the next chapter, he'll get back to giving the history of everything that the Israelites went through the time, you know, back from Abraham going through Egypt and all of that. So we're going to start at chapter 7 and read verse 1. Go ahead.
And Yahuwah said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast.
Okay, hold on that. Let me go here. I'm sorry, y'all. Acts 7 and 1. So the very next chapter over. Acts 7 and 1. So what we're going to see here is that Stephen about to run down the whole history, right, as a reminder, because the Most High always reiterates what happened in the days of old to try to bring them into their senses, right? So we're going to start Acts chapter 7, family, and read 1, and we're going to go through this whole chapter. Well, actually through 29. We're going to go 1 through 29. Go ahead.
Then said the high priest, Are these things so?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Sharon.
So they asked him in chapter 6, they was accusing him, they set up the false witnesses to lie against him, saying that he was going against the customs of Moshe and the Torah or the law, right? And then they asked him, is this true? So he making his statement. He on trial right now in front of his jurors, right? Keep going. 3.
Then said unto him, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall show thee.
Mm-hmm. This is what the Most High told Abraham, lead that land, right? Verse 4.
Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans, and dwelt in Sharon. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land, wherein ye now dwell.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. And God spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, said God. And after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
So I'm going to make your children come to this land. They're going to go through bondage and hard slavery. And then after that, then they're going to come serve me here. Keep reading.
And he gave him the covenant of circumcision.
Mm-hmm.
And so Abraham begat Isaac, and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs. And the patriarchs, moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but Yah was with him.
So they sold, this is a key point, because the patriarchs, they his own brethren sold Joseph or Yosef into Egypt, right? But Yah was with him. Keep reading 10.
And delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he made him governor over Egypt.
So he found favor on this man who was sold into slavery by his own family, right? Caused Pharaoh to find favor him and to put him in a very important position, which we would call governor, right? Governor over all of Egypt, right? And all his house as well, right? So this is a foreign man who went through slavery and made his way up all the way to a governing position, right? 11.
Now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Shinar, in great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance.
So it was a famine, and in Egypt and Canaan, it was no substance of food for them, right? 12.
But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt,
Right.
he sent out our fathers first.
Mm-hmm.
And at the second time Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred, 75 souls. So Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over to Shechem, and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Shechem. But when the time of the promise drew nigh, which Yah had sworn unto Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph. The same dealt subtly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end they might not live. In which time Moses was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son.
All right, so far, when the famine came, Joseph sent for his family. They came into Egypt. He set them up, and you see that Jacob ended up dying. Now you see Moses' time coming about, and it's talking about him, right? And it's talking about how new kings came. So eventually, I would say the relationship and rapport that they had while Joseph was there is being diminished, right? So Moses is coming in through a new time. Keep reading.
And Moses was learned in all wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed, and smote the Egyptian.
Right.
For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not.
All right, let's stop right there. So basically, this is giving a rundown. Stephen giving the whole running down the history of everything that happened, right? Let's go to verse 35.
This Moses whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did Yah send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush.
So Stephen read back the history of how Israel came to be a nation, right? So the Father put them through all of this. He forming them to become a nation, right? Now we seeing Moses done came into play. He about to run his course, right? But you see what they saying to Moses in 35, who made thee a ruler and a judge? They didn't want to follow Moses, but who was giving orders to Moses? The Most High Father, right? So, but these people don't want to follow him. Who made you ruler? Who made you judge? I mean, you just like us. You ain't no better than us, right? Keep reading.
He brought them out. After that, he had showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years.
Right.
This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall Yahuwah thy Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear.
Right, and this is speaking to Christ, right? Keep reading.
This is he that was in the church in the wilderness, with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers who received the lively oracles to give unto us.
Right, keep reading.
To whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt.
So Most High set up a leader. The people didn't want to follow the leader, so they turned on him, right? Verse 51.
Ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, you do always resist the Holy Ghost.
So this is, keep going.
As your fathers did, so do ye.
So this is important verse 2 because we think that the Holy Ghost or the Ruach HaKodesh is something new, right? But he's telling you that this was already existent back in the days of Moses, right? So he's saying you resist us, the Spirit, just as your fathers did during them times with Moses, right? Now people will make it, the people sacrifice their children to Molech, meaning that they took on the culture of those who follow Molech. And they put Yah on the back burner. And when Israel left Egypt and fought throughout the land of Canaan, they were supposed to be setting an example and establishing a righteous government across the earth. So this was the whole goal of the Most High, is to establish them as a nation through everything that they went through. That way they can experience slavery, hard bondage, the wrongdoing. That way when they get their opportunity to rule, that they'll lead, with honor and integrity and in the ways that the Most High planned, right? But they didn't do that. So he put them through bondage, and then they got out and put their own brethren in bondage, put their own people into servitude and slavery, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4, and we're going to read verses 1 through 9. Go ahead, brother, when you get there.
Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which Lord God of your fathers giveth you.
So he's telling them, listen to these statutes and the judgments that I'm teaching you. That way when you get to this land, you'll know how to operate, right? With decency and order. Keep reading.
Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God which I command you.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that follow Baal Peor, the Lord thy God hath destroyed them from among you.
So you seen what I showed you, example, those worshipers of Baal, what happened to them. So when you get in here, you just follow the ways of the Most High, because any belief system or anything like that, it's a culture that come along with it, right? And in some of these cultures, they involve like some crazy stuff, killing people, molestation of children, things of that nature, right? So when you get in this lane, you just operate as the Most High has told you to do, right? Keep reading 4.
But ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
So you didn't die like the unbelievers. Since you believed and you cleaved unto me, you was put in a place of safety, right? And I covered you through this, and you came out alive. Keep reading.
Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding.
Read that again.
Keep therefore and do them,
For this is what?
your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of all the nations.
So when you get to this land, this is going to be considered your wisdom and your understanding before all these other nations, right? So I want you to keep and I want you to do them. Keep reading.
Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
Right. Keep going. Not you ignorant. Oh, man, they out here killing each other. They out here making whores of their women, not being a good example. But this is going to be your wisdom and understanding. Because, see, these days, we really, it's a black eye on our people. All they think is that we ignorant. All we know how to do is sell dope. All our women know how to do is be whores. The men to be whoremongers, to use and abuse the women, go smash and dash, create the babies and run off, right? So we got all these things, labels on us because of how people look at us right now. So the Most High putting order into place to say, if you do these things, you're going to be counted as wise people, right? Go ahead, 7.
For what nation is there so great, who hath Elohim so nigh unto them? And Yahuwah, our Elohim, is in all things that we call upon him for. Mm-hmm. And what nation is there so great, that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen.
So don't forget what you've been seeing. You got to stay in order. I done put you through all this that you went through so that this could be an example and lead you into the right path. I did this for a reason, right? Now, don't forget about these things. Keep going. And lest they
depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons.
Yeah, so teach this to your sons and your sons' sons. So when you get to this land, this is the order I want you to establish. I want you to do it. Then I want you to teach your children and your children's children this and keep it going, right? Then everybody going to think that you wise. Because if you keep the Most High's commandments, when you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, 1 through 14, the Most High give you all his promises of the blessings that he'll give you through obedience. Blessed shall your basket be, this and that, right? And then all the glory goes to him. So people going to look at you and be like, man, there's something different about them. And look how he living, you know what I'm saying? So now that's going to make them eager to look at you and figure out what you got going, right? So they might start trying to create conversation and everything just to see what's different about you, right? And the Most High is saying that the nations would deem this as your wisdom, right? And it wouldn't just be just because of the laws of the Most High Yah alone, but because of the fruit of what the laws produce, which should be equality, justice, peace, prosperity, etc. Imagine if we had that now, but it's not. We don't have no peace. It's drama. It's no justice. Everything works against us, right? Now, this would have caused people to adapt to the ways of the Most High Yah just out of curiosity. And they would at least had to consider the Most High Yah's ways to be fruitful in their land as well. So they would have said, well, I see Israel prospering. Let me do the same thing then. They got the one true living God, right? Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 4 and 34. Because none of our people rule like that. Now our so-called leaders, they betray us. They sell out on us and they set us up to be used and abused, Because we got a lot of people who still don't see it, like people like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and people of that nature, what they really about, right? Because they play their role. 1 Kings chapter 4 and verse 34. Go ahead and read that.
And there came of all the people to hear the wisdom of Solomon from all kings of the earth, which had heard of his wisdom. Because
Solomon was a wise man, right? He was a wise man, so all the people around the earth came to him to get wisdom because they seen how he was moving. The Most High was blessing his hand because he was going to do right by the people. So as he did right by the people, the Most High got him more and more of an increase, and he started to grow abundant. So now everybody from around the world started coming to this man to get wisdom, to see how he structured his things. So we'll read this, and we just stop there. We don't think that back in the day they had economy. They had to learn how to do trading, goods, and all of that. All of that come with part of being wise, So they going to get game and get advice from him to see, like, dang, how are you doing this? Because the way you running it, everybody is happy up under you, and we want to mimic that, right? Deuteronomy chapter 17. See, right now, the rulers are hated because they're not doing the people right. Everybody gonna have something bad to say about no matter what president is up and ruling, right? Because they not really for the people. They for those of power and the money. And they don't forgot about the little people, the common people, right? Deuteronomy 17 and verse 14 through 20. Go ahead, brother.
When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about
Because he
me.
knew they was going to get to this land, and then they was going to want to be like everybody else. Instead of just going with the operation that the Most High put in place, they was going to say, man, give me a king like that. Give me a king like this nation, right? So let's read some of these traits that a ruler of Israel is supposed to possess. Keep going.
Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee,
Right.
whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Right.
But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way.
Right. So people to see this and be like, if they don't have to understand and see, the king's not supposed to have all this and they're not supposed to have all that, right? But it's saying you shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt. This is basically saying you become a leader of the people, but your heart is filled with greed, so you're not worried about the people, and you're going to let whatever happen to them so that you could prosper and you can rise, right? And it said you set a man of your own people over you, right? But we'll get in here and we'll vote for every Tom, Dick, and Harry that ain't got nothing in our best interest, right? And they ain't our people, so they naturally ain't gonna have no affection for us like how we would, right? Verse 17, go ahead.
Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold.
Right, meaning don't make this your focus that you forget about what I put you in position to do, right? Keep going.
And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book.
That he should write a copy of what?
This law.
Man, but these people they're gonna have you out here lawless, you know what I'm saying? But he's telling the king, this is what I want you to do. Write a copy of this law in this book. Keep going.
Out of that which is before the priests the Levites.
Keep reading.
And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life.
He shall read. He got to study this thing, right? Keep going.
That he may learn to fear Yahuwah his Elohim,
right,
to keep all the words of this law and these statutes to do them.
So that he may fear it and that he may keep and to do them, right? Keep going.
That his heart be not lifted up above his brethren.
So that he don't forget his brethren, right? He don't start putting himself above his brethren instead of serving them, right? Because we think that being king, being this and that, it's all about everybody serving you, right? I'm a king, I'm a queen, everybody serve me. But the true kings and queens serve the people. They knew their position and they were supposed to be there to keep order and to make it have equity among everybody. Everybody have peace. Everybody have shalom. So I'm watching all the people. So when I see this pocket of area of homeless going over here, I got to do something about it. What type of things can we create so that we can provide for these people, make a way, teach them how to survive on their own, and so everybody is fed, clothed, and nurtured, right? Keep reading.
And that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left.
Right.
To the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel.
So he got to make a copy of this book. This book is providing order to tell him how he should act, right, and how to govern the people, right? If you don't have nothing to govern yourself, it's going to be chaos, right? To say, well, we ain't got no rules and regulations we got to follow, you know, then how you going to be judged? When you go to court, you have to have broken a law in order for them to be bringing you into court, right? They supposedly, at least, you know, not these days, that ain't how it work for us, you know, a lot of the times. But you supposed to have evidence in all of this that, hey, this law has been broken, right? But if it's no law, then there's nothing that they can hold you against, right? And these was, again, supposed to be the traits of the ruler of Israel and what they were supposed to possess. Now, he's supposed to have his own copy of the Torah and not set himself above the people. And he will be a humble leader who serves all, executing judgment righteously. And this type of leadership, if done correctly, should have spread across the whole world because everybody should have wanted to mimic this, right, and embody this same type of leadership. Zechariah 9:9, because it's not about being everybody serving you when you a king and you just getting puffed up in your head, right? Because that's what it's about now. It's all about, even like in church assemblies, you'll see that mentality on the pastors like he above others, man. You can go to some churches and attend there for 14 years and never speak to the pastor because it's so big and he above approach. You know, you can't even get close because security, you know, you might catch a chop to your neck, right? Like, hey, stay back 50 feet from pastor, right? Zechariah 9:9, and let's read that. Because this right here is talking about Christ when he came, right? Go ahead and read.
Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just in having salvation.
He is just, right? Brings justice and having salvation, right? Keep reading.
Lowly.
He's humble. He not just out here. You know, we've been made to have a big head, all of that. Even like the music exude that. You know what I'm saying? It's all about, I got this, I got that. You don't got it, right? But I mean, to think about it, if you riding and you listen to music, they down in you because you don't have what they have. But we gonna spend our bread and we support this music. You know what I'm saying? And they really talking down on you. Keep reading.
And riding upon an ass.
He was riding upon the ass. Now, the ass would be like the hoopties back in the day, right? So it wasn't a Bentley. It wasn't a Mercedes-Benz. He came in on a hoopty, riding on the ass. Keep going.
And upon a coat, the foal of an ass.
Right. So he came through modest, right? Because he came through for the people. He didn't care about the image and to be like, oh, I'm going to press you through my financial and material things, right? Now, the wicked leaders, they oppress the people to multiply wealth for themselves. That's why you have leaders who have big establishments who do have the Bentleys and everything, but they members don't even got lights on. And then they teach them to make them feel afraid if they don't get a last penny to them. But they don't have no power at home. You see what I'm saying? So these teachings oppress the people. Now, it's not about it ain't about the work being out for the people, but it's about the work being out for themselves, right? Because they don't want to move their finger to do no type of true work for the Most High. Now, the true believers of Yah follow his ways and not the ways of the government that they was under, right? They're going to always put his law above theirs, right? So when you read examples through the book, they was willing to risk their lives. Like, think about Daniel, you know. Daniel was willing to risk his life, you know, and still pray when they put out a petition saying you can't pray to your master. He still put his life on the line like, man, I'm good because I'm in the Father's hand. He knew that if you took me right now, you know I'm in good standings with the Father because I'm doing his will, right? No matter what nobody say, right? 1 Samuel chapter 2. And we're going to read 1 through 11. When you get there, go ahead.
And Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoiceth in Yahuwah. My unborn is exalted in Yahuwah. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies because I rejoice in thy salvation.
Right, and this is Samuel's mother saying these things, right? Because she was barren. She came to the Most High to make a petition, you know, and make her plea. Keep reading.
There is none holy as Yahuwah. For there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our
She's
Elohim.
saying good words. These are good things. She's saying, keep reading.
Talk no more exceeding proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth.
That's not the way of this world today, though. It's all about arrogancy and me outdoing you and showing that, oh, I'm better than you in any kind of way, right? Keep going.
For Yahuwah is an Elohim of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed.
Yo, actions is what count, right? I don't care what you got. Keep reading.
The bows of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumbled are girded with strength. They that were full have hired out themselves for bread, and they that were hungry ceased. So that the barren hath borne 7, and she that hath many children is waxed feeble.
And that's a key verse with her saying this prayer, right? Because she was barren. Keep reading.
The Lord killeth and maketh alive.
He does.
He bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up.
She recognizing the power of the Most High Yah, right? Keep going.
The Lord maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill.
And he does.
To,
Keep going.
To set them among princes.
Because we about to get into the story of Joseph, and we going to see that this is very true. He raises up the poor out of the dust and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, because Joseph was at a low state. He came from prison to be risen and to be put in the position of governor. He went through a whole lot. Keep reading.
To set them among princes, and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are Yahuwah's, and he has set the world upon them. He will keep the feet of his saints.
He going to keep the feet of the saints. Keep going.
And the wicked shall be silent in darkness.
Ooh-wee, because he going to always judge and bring you out of anything as long as you moving right. And he gonna be there for you. You going to think that it ain't no way out of it. It ain't. And it's, I know everybody in this room could testify at least one time in their life where they didn't know how something was going to happen, and the Most High made a way, or made something out of something. You see what I'm saying? Everybody have a testimony about that. It's things that we take for granted that the Most High does. And when you can actually recognize it, it feels so good, because now what? You know that he is real. It can't be to where he don't exist and this happened. You know, I'm able to really walk with my head high and have confidence that what he say, he gonna hold to it. You see what I'm saying? Keep reading.
For by strength shall no man prevail.
No, keep going.
The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them.
Yes.
The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king.
He gonna give strength unto his king.
And exalt the horn of his anointed.
Right. So he gonna always make that way, right? He gonna be the power behind everything. When you think it ain't gonna be no way, he make all this stuff happen, right? Last verse, 11.
And Elkanah went to Ramah to his house, and the child did minister unto the Lord before Eli the priest.
Right. So when she had her the child, right, Samuel, he went before Eli the priest, right? Let's see here. Keep reading.
12. Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They knew not the Lord.
Now this is important. We're gonna look at, because Eli's in the position of power as well, right? He in a high position within Israel. Now his sons was the sons of Belial, meaning that they weren't following the ways of the Most High. And that's another thing, because sometimes you could try to raise your children to be one way under the Most High, but it don't always turn out like that, right? So his sons was wicked, right? 13.
And the priest's custom with all the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came, while the flesh was in seething, with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand.
Right, so this is the custom. The Most High set up a certain order. Whenever they was going to make their sacrifices, this were the steps that they were supposed to follow, right? Now, keep in mind, his sons was wicked, and they were priests. 14, read that.
And he struck it into the pan, or kettle, or cauldron, or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up, the priest took for himself. So did they in Shiloh unto all the Israelites that came thither.
Right. So the priest was like the highest position which in Israel. People always, it was elders in every single tribe. In all 12 tribes, it was an elder. But the elders within the Levites, everybody looked up to and followed, right? Because they were supposed to lead you in the way of the Most High. So when you made the offering, the priest was supposed to take the flesh hook, dip it in, and whatever he pulled up on the hook, he was able to keep for himself, right? Because this is the working of the Most High. If he wants you to have a little square of meat and it's short, maybe the priest might have did something that he deserved that. If he came out with a nice piece, then maybe that was his reward, right? But anyway, the priest was supposed to dip the hook into there and keep whatever meat he pulled up. But let's see what they did. 15.
Also, before they burnt the fat, the priest's servant came and said to the man that sacrificed, Give flesh to the roast for the priest, for he will not have sodden flesh of thee, but raw.
Right. Keep going.
And if any man said unto him, Let them not fail to burn the fat presently, and then take as much as thy soul desireth, then he would answer him, Nay, but thou shalt give it me now, and if not, I will take it by force.
Keep reading.
Wherefore the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, for men abhorred the offering of the Lord.
So they was basically strong-arming people so that they can get more flesh, right? So they was wanting it raw. That way they can go back home, treat it, and keep it for themselves, right? So instead of taking what was on there, dipping it in there and taking whatever the meat, they were strong-arming people and like, nah, give me all this right here. You going to give it to me? Or like they said, I'm going to take it by force, right? Read 17.
Wherefore the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord.
So this was deemed a sin in front of the Most High's eyes. Keep going.
For men abhorred the offering of the Lord.
So people got to hating to give their offering and serving the Most High in the capacity that they should, right? Skip down to 22.
Now Eli was very old, and heard all that his sons did unto all Israel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
So not only was they forcing people to give over their meat, now they laying with the women, right? And they out here being whoremongers, right? And it's important because the priests are the leaders of Israel. This is who everybody went to because they governed Israel, right? 23.
And he said unto them, Why do ye such things? For I hear of your evil dealings by all this people. Nay, my sons, for it is no good report that I hear. Ye make the Lord's people to transgress.
So Eli telling them, like, why are you doing this, right? You making the people to transgress, right? They'll fall away from the Most High. Just like if you go to an assembly today and then you see a pastor over here trying to sleep with all these women, or he messing with some children and stuff. You know what they cover up today in these churches, right? So when you see them things, people will fall away from the truth. Like even when we evangelizing in the streets after the Shabbat class, a lot of people say that. A lot of people done fell away from church and they say, oh, I seen this pastor doing this. I seen this pastor doing this, right? So because of their actions, they became a stumbling block to where people don't even want to follow or attempt to build a relationship with the Most High, right? Go ahead.
If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. But if a man sin against the Lord, who shall entreat for him?
Man, so yeah, if you sin against the Most High, who gonna be able to defend you? You just really out of there. Keep going.
Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto the voice of their father, because Yahuwah would slay them. And the child Samuel grew on and was in favor both with Yahuwah and also with men.
So now Samuel, who his mother prayed to the Most High, who we read earlier, she was making petitions. You know, Samuel is now growing up and he's getting favor between the Most High and the people of the land. They love him as well, right? 27.
And there came a man of God unto Eli and said unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah, Did I plainly appear unto the house of thy father when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? And
so he reminding them about Egypt, right? Because he always reminds us about the place of bondage to let us know where we can return if we don't keep his commandments, because he got a covenant with him. If you keep my commandments and you do right, you're going to get the blessings. If you don't, you're going to get the curses. So he keep reiterating and bringing up Egypt, right? He going.
And did I choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon mine altar, to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me? And did I give unto the house of thy father all the offerings made by fire of the children of Israel?
So you got it set up and made. Everything gonna come to you as long as you just do my work. You don't got to get out here like the other tribes and really work in that manner to get it. They in the field with it, but you just getting it, right? 29.
Wherefore, kick ye at my sacrifice and at mine offering, which I have commanded in my habitation, and honorest thy sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the chiefest of all the offerings of Israel, my people.
And right, and while they doing that, you got to think about that sacrifice supposed to go to who? The Most High, and they stealing the sacrifice. So you taking out the Most High table, even though he don't need to eat that, you know, but you take it from him. 30.
Wherefore the Lord God of Israel said, I said indeed that thy house and the house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now the Lord said, be it far from me.
So now I was gonna have y'all here the whole time, but now you ain't gonna be here no more. I'm breaking my covenant with you. Keep going. Since you broke your covenant with me.
For them that honor me, I will
For
honor.
them that honor me, I will honor. So it's a mutual, and it's gonna be reciprocated. It ain't he just gonna honor you how we been taught. Now you gotta honor him, right? Keep reading.
And they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days come that I will cut off thine arm, and the arm of thy father's house, and there shall not be an old man in thine house.
So now he fixing to cut off his whole lineage. Keep reading.
And thou shalt see an enemy in my habitation, in all the wealth which God shall give Israel, and there shall not be an old man in thine house forever.
So now he promising him that I'm gonna cut off your whole lineage because to do the things that the children did, right, of Eli. Now they got cut off. You know, his sons eventually went to war, and they both died in war. And then they came back and told a story to their father Eli, and due to his old age, and he fell and broke his neck, right? And he died. So their whole household was cut off. So this is another thing. So when you do see your children doing wrong as well, you're supposed to correct them. Save yourself and them at the same time, because if you don't correct them, then they're going to continue in their path, and that's blood on your hands. You see what I'm saying? Then if you don't raise them right, they're going to do all type of stuff, and guess who's going to have to pay for it anyway? If they come up with our children, out of wedlock, who's going to have to take care of them? If they go to jail because you ain't been teaching them right, who going to have to be putting up money to put on their books? They going to be wanting to call you. Them calls cost an arm and a leg. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to come back on you one way or the other. You rather for them to be mad and teach them the right way while they're young, right? But see, he should have really corrected them and cut them off and disciplined them in the manner that he should have, but he didn't, because this is a leader of the people, and they over here taking advantage of the people, right? This is not how the government of Yah is supposed to be ran. So we're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 8. So Samuel found favor with the Most High and the people. Go ahead and read, brother. Verse 1.
Okay. And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel.
So now Samuel old enough, and he got sons, and they judges or rulers over Israel, right? So the judges would be like how we got governors, mayors, things like that now times, right? Go ahead, verse 2.
Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second, Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba, and his sons walked not in his ways.
So Samuel was a righteous man, but once again, the children, his sons walked not in the ways of the Most High. Keep going.
But turned aside after lucre.
So they was chasing what they call today the bag, right? They was chasing the bag. They was trying to get the money. Keep going.
And took bribes and perverted judgment.
So they took bribes. So that's wickedness in the Most High's eye, because now you covering up the sin and wickedness of other people for money, right? And they perverted judgment, right? So it was at the point to where you can go do something that might have been worthy of death, and then since you put money in my pocket, I'm going to turn a blind eye, right? I'm not going to do nothing. No, I know you went over there and molested that woman, Keep reading.
Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah.
So that all the elders is coming to Samuel. Keep going.
And said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways.
So basically they saying, man, your sons is baby kids, right? They all out of order. Keep reading.
Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations.
So we want a king now. We don't want your children ruling over us. Just give us a king. Remember when we read earlier when the Most High had already told them, when you get in this land, this is how I want your king to be running things. I want him to have order, right? I want him to take upon this book of the law. He shall read it every day, right? So they coming now, and they fulfilling that prophecy basically and saying, we want us a king now, right? Keep reading.
But the thing displeased Samuel, when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto Yahuwah. And Yahuwah said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them.
Right, keep reading.
According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of
So
Egypt.
they bringing up Egypt again, telling them, man, they been wicked since I brought them out of Egypt. I did all that for them. The day that they stepped foot out of it, they was already into their ways. Keep reading.
Even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so do they also unto thee.
So as soon as I got out of Egypt, y'all remember they made that golden calf? After he did all of that, took them out of bondage, saved their life, they went and made a golden calf while they was in the wilderness, right? And just forgot everything in America that the Most High blessed them with and took them out from under bondage, right? Keep reading.
Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of him a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over
So
you.
he about to let them know what's going to happen. Y'all asking for it, but I'm going to give it to you, but this what's going to happen. Keep going.
He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands, and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields, and your vineyards, and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants.
So he going to take the best of it, give it to the servants. And you see, like, when they was worshiping the Most High, it wasn't nobody just getting. The only thing the people who was getting something was the priest. But now you got a king, and you basically, it's like being set up under a president, or somebody like that. Now, all your work is going to benefit him, right? And he going to have really power over you and rulership. So however he operate. Keep reading.
15, and he will take the tenth of your seed.
Now you got, that's taxes, man. Yeah. You're going to get taxed now. I want all this 10 for your seed and of your what?
Vineyards, and to give his officers and to his servants.
Man.
And he will take your manservants and your maidservants and your goodliest young men and your asses and put them to his work.
That's what they do to us. They take our tax money that we work hard for to go and build a military here in America so that they can go to another country and rob them and steal from them. Keep reading.
He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants.
Whatever you got, you give him 10. Keep reading.
And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which ye shall have chosen you. And the Lord will not hear you in that day.
Because this king going to remind you of who? Pharaoh in Egypt. Because he going to be so harsh on you. It's going to be like you're going to read through this book and the law or the Torah, and you're going to be like, man, this is what my ancestors went through in Egypt. We on the same page, right? Because we even make a joke when we get slaved at work and be like, man, I'm working like a Hebrew slave. Because they'll be running you into the ground. Man, I done worked 16 hours straight, and you asking me to come in early tomorrow? You tripping. Go ahead and read.
Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel. And they said, nay, but we will have a king over us.
So they choosing this anyway. I know we hear what you saying, Samuel, that all this stuff gonna happen, but that's what we want. You know what I'm saying? And that's bad because the wickedness that of the rulers over them may push them to this point. Like anything got to be better than what we going through now, right? 20. Read that.
That we also may be like all the nations.
So we can be like all the other nations. We don't really care about what the Most High really wanted with us. We want to be what we see other people be like, which has always been our people problems, right? Keep reading.
And that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles.
Keep going.
And Samuel heard all the words of the people and rehearsed them in the ears of Yahuwah.
So that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. But who fought our battles before we had kings? The Most High, and we was winning. As long as we was obedient, we was winning everything. And it got to the point where the other nations knew about our belief system, and they used that to their advantage and said, as long as we can get them to transgress against the Most High, we can win this war. How y'all think they got into the walls of Jerusalem in 70 AD? The Romans sat outside the walls, and every Shabbat, because they knew how we worship, they would inch in closer and closer every Shabbat till they got to the point where they was close enough to seize and go through the walls, right? Keep reading.
22. And Yahuwah said unto Samuel, Hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, Go ye every man unto his city.
So, okay, this is the agreement. This is what y'all want to do. So we're going to put it into play. Another thing about the Shabbat, Joshua, when they was in war, he prayed that the sun didn't fall down so that they could at least finish the battle before the Sabbath came in, because he knew what they were supposed to do when the Sabbath came, which was the rest, right? Hosea 13, and we're going to read 9 through 11. So we seeing the wickedness of these people who was ruling made them to go want to get a king, right? Because they didn't want to deal with, the people like Samuel's children and Eli's children no more, which was the priest, which was set in place by the Most High, who was supposed to help lead and govern the people. But it was so wicked that they rather have a king like they seen the other nations have. Go ahead, 13 and 9.
O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself, but in me is thine help. I will be thy king. Where is any other that may save thee in all thy cities?
So who gonna save you besides? Who gonna save you besides me? Ain't nobody can do that, right? Keep going.
And thy judges of whom thou sittest, give me a king and princes.
So you wanted the king and the princes. Keep going.
I gave thee a king in mine anger.
So I gave you that king, and it was out of anger. I gave it. You asked for it, I gave it. I even tried to tell you beforehand, hey, brothers and sisters, this is what's going to happen. But you still wanted it to be like the other nations, because whatever I give you ain't suffice. Imagine that, parents. It's like having a child. No, you work hard to get that money, so whatever you can afford or whatever you do give your child, and they ain't appreciative. I want the Jordans. I don't want these, Like, boy, them Jordans is $8,000 a pair now. Yeah, and they still buying it, But they ungrateful, So imagine how the Most High feel. I done took you out of slavery and bondage. I blessed you with all these things. I gave you the land that was plenteous, the best of the best. And then it's still not good for you. You still want to have the ways of the other people. You want to live like them. So I gave you a king. Read 11 again.
I gave thee a king in mine anger.
Out of my anger.
And took him away in my wrath.
Took him away in my wrath, right? So let's go to Genesis 41. Now we're going to start getting into Joseph. And I hope everybody have understanding. I'll give a basic breakdown. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brethren. So his own brothers took him and sold him into slavery and bondage, right? Which is no love, because you don't know if the man going to get killed tomorrow. But you don't put him in the place of slavery, his own brethren, right? Genesis 41-15. Imagine if y'all brothers and sisters was to, sell y'all out, and put you in a position like that. Genesis 41-15. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it.
Right.
And I have heard say of thee, but thou canst understand a dream to interpret it.
Right. So Pharaoh done went to Joseph, and he getting him to interpret the dream, right? Because Joseph had a relationship with somebody else who he was locked up with, right? And then he interpreted the dream for him. So he went back and gave the word to Pharaoh, because Pharaoh had a dream, and his so-called magicians and all his people who was under him, using dark magic, couldn't even decipher the dream. So he sent them out. He said, man, I know a guy who can decipher the dream, which was Joseph. So he brought Joseph unto Pharaoh. Keep reading.
And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. Yah shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored, and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kind did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored, as as at the beginning. So I awoke. And I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it to me.
So he gave him a rundown. This was what I dreamed, Joseph. Now it's up to Joseph to decipher this dream. Go ahead.
And Joseph said unto the Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. Yah has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kind are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kind that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What Yah is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice, it is because the thing established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn unto the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the things was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants.
So basically, Joseph was able to break down and decipher the dream for him and said, man, it's going to be 7 years of famine, so you got to go out there and you got to prepare, create storehouses. That way, once the famine hits, you already got your food stored up for your nation to survive, right? Not only for you to survive, but you're going to be able to provide, right? So he had magicians that couldn't decipher the dream, but he himself was blessed by the Most High Yah to do it. And keep in mind, this man started from the prison off of things that, over something he didn't even do nothing wrong. His brother just sold him to slavery. He came from prison. The Most High Yah is using this man. He put him in this position. Nobody can decipher the dream. It's only him, right? He break down the dream and he telling everything to the T, right? So the Pharaoh saw it was good. So he sent out his servants, right? So he sent out his servants. We gonna let's see here. So after he deciphered the dream, everything happened, right? So basically, Joseph immediately went about his work because the Pharaoh ended up putting him into place and was like, yeah, go ahead and do everything that you told me to do, right? So he put him up in position, right, and put him over all of Egypt. Now, Joseph immediately went about the work to which Pharaoh had appointed him, and his primary interest was getting the job done for others rather than taking personal advantage of his new position as the head of the royal court. He manifested his faith in Yah, giving his children names that credited Yah with healing his emotional pain and making them fruitful. So we'll look into that later, into what he named his children. But he even named his children names in Hebrew that basically explain his gratefulness for the Most High, being there with him through all of this hard time, because he couldn't see this. Imagine being sold by your brethren into slavery, you in prison, you don't see no way out, because you is money to the people. Nah, you a slave. Why would I let my slaves go when I make so much money off of you? But the Most High set this man in place, and why? Because of his faith in the Most High, and he knew the Most High was always with him. So the Most High working it out. That's what I was speaking of earlier. We'll be in situations we don't know how the Most High gonna work it out. People done had bills that needed to be paid. People done had family members that were sick that the doctor said you only gonna live a week. And all of these things happen. They still alive today. Or that bill got paid. Or this way got made. You know what I'm saying? So since he had the faith, the Most High done put him in position. And this is dealing with the government because we're going to see how he ruled Egypt once he's put in power by the Pharaoh, right? So Joseph's work, let me go back up. Now he recognized the wisdom and the discernment were gifts from the Most High. But nevertheless, that he still had much to learn about the land of Egypt, its agriculture industry in particular. As a senior administrator, Joseph's work touched on every practical area of the nation's life. His office would have required him to learn much about legislation, communication, negotiation, because he's dealing with all other people. And this is things we don't look at, the things that the wisdom that the Most High gave him: legislation, communication, negotiation, transportation. How are we going to get these goods from here to there for the people coming from other nations who going to need this food? Safe and efficient methods of food storage. How are we going to store this food for this long? It's supposed to be 7 years of famine. How do we make sure it don't go bad? Building, how to build these structures, economic strategizing, and forecasting, record keeping, payroll, the handling of transactions, both by means of currency and through bartering their goods, such as land and animal livestock, human resources, and acquisition of real estate. His abilities with respect to the Most High and the people did not operate in separate domains. He was serving both the Most High and the people at the same time. The Most High is using him. He finding favor amongst the other nations and the Most High at the same time among his own people. The genius of Joseph's success lay in effective integration of his divine gifts and his acquired competencies. Now, Joseph, all his work was godly work. And the Pharaoh characterized Joseph as discerning and wise. Let's go to Genesis 41 and read, well, we already there, read verse 39.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art.
So this is Pharaoh's words, giving him saying nobody is as wise as you are, right? And this is because of the blessing of the Most High. So even Pharaoh is giving him his credit, right? And this is the main man in power. But we seeing how Yah use you to raise you up. You'll be lowly and he'll bring you up to where you're going to get your respect, right? Whoever thought that he would be here. And just think about his brethren when this stuff start happening and they finna have to come to Joseph. I done sold you into slavery. Now you the one who going to be in a position to bless me and watch over me, right? This is to me, I think about this type of stuff. I try to put myself in a position like, would I have blessed my brethren, or would I be like, nah, bro? Now, see, remember back in 1982 when you had sold me over? Yeah, I remember that, you know. Or would I have a heart of Yah and be like, all right, I'm gonna be long suffering and merciful and show some favor in this occasion, right? Now, these characteristics enabled Joseph to do the work of strategic planning and administration. And the Hebrew words for wise and wisdom is hakam and hokmah, and they denote a high level of mental perceptivity, but also use a wide range of practical skills, including craftsmanship of wood, precious stones and metal, tailoring, as well as the administration of legal justice. So he getting knowledge of all of these things just by trying to run this operation for Pharaoh, right? The Most High increasing him a knowledge of all things. And these skills are found among unbelievers as well, but the wise people in the Bible enjoy the special blessing of Yah, who intends to teach Israel on how to display God's ways to the nations, as we saw in Deuteronomy 4 and 6 when we read, and he said, do these things, this is going to be your wisdom amongst the nation. And we see this is what Joseph is doing. He keeping God's ways, and he is being blessed, and and the Most High is letting him shine, because the Most High is not a man that he should lie. If he say he gonna do something, he gonna do it. So we see now Joseph went from a low state to a high state, and he finding favor from the Most High and the people. Let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 9. And we're going to read verses 1 through 9. 2 Chronicles chapter 9, verses 1 through 9. Go ahead, brother.
And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, she came to prove Solomon with hard questions
So
at
when
Jerusalem.
Sheba heard all this stuff about a great man Solomon, who is this great man Solomon? Let me get out here. Let me ask him some questions. I got to prove him for myself. What's so great about him, right? Keep reading.
With a very great company, and camels that bear spices, and gold in abundance, and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart.
Right, so everything in her mind, she asking questions. She probably had a lot of questions taking that long trip too. She just writing them down. She got a whole notebook to ask Solomon. You know what I'm saying? He's so great. I'm going to hit him with the hardest questions and see what he got, right? Keep reading.
And Solomon told her all her questions. And there was nothing hid from Solomon which he told her not.
So he knocking down every question she bring to him and answering them. Keep going.
And when the queen of Sheba had seen the wisdom of Solomon and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, his cupbearers also, and their apparel, and his ascent by which he went up into the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. And she said to the king, it was a true report which I heard in mine own land of thine acts and of thy wisdom.
So she came trying to test him of his wisdom and knowledge, asking all these questions, and now she's saying, yeah, everything they said was true about you. You are wise, right? So he broke that spirit hardness that she had, right? So she had to be open. And remember we was talking about this is going to be a wisdom amongst the nations. So now she inquisitive and she want to inquire more. Like, dang, man, this Elohim probably got to be real if he got this type of wisdom. Ain't no man got wisdom like this. Keep reading 6.
Howbeit I believed not their words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it.
Now I know it's real. Keep going.
And behold, the one half of the greatness of thy wisdom was not told me, for thou exceedest the fame that I heard.
See, you even greater than what I heard. I see you now. See, and that's because Solomon was a wise man, and we're going to see why he was wise in a second. Read 7.
Happy are thy men, and happy are these thy servants.
Man, happy is the men under you and the servants. Keep going.
Which stand continually before thee and hear thy wisdom.
Remember, it says she saw all these men standing before him, and ain't nobody complaining. Usually when somebody under somebody rule, they complain, and they got something to say. Once the leader turn their back, man, he always doing this. He always doing this. Can you believe this, Joker? Right? But she's saying everybody happy to serve you, right? So which means he must be a honorable leader, right? 8.
Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee to set thee on his throne, to be king for the Lord thy God, because thy God loved Israel, to establish them forever.
Now this a woman from a whole nother nation. She know the Most High real, strictly off of his wisdom and how he conduct himself. So he making a believer off of his works, right? Keep going.
Therefore made he thee king over them to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold.
She bringing them goods, so he getting rewarded and blessed by the Most High through her, just because of his wisdom, right? Because he tell you, man, you keep my commandments and seek the kingdom, and all else will be added unto you. Keep reading.
And of spices great abundance, and precious stones. Neither was there any such spice as the queen of Sheba gave
So
King
she
Solomon.
gave him choice spices, things that was rare and worth of value. 2 Chronicles chapter 1, and we're going to read 7 through 12. So he was a good leader. The people, they loved to serve him, and they was happy. We're going to start at 7 and read through 12. Go ahead.
In that night did Yah appear unto Solomon, and said unto him, Ask what I shall give thee.
So now the Most High Yah come before Solomon and is like, what you want? If I can give you some, what do you want, right? 8.
And Solomon said unto Yah, Thou hast showed great mercy unto David my father, and hast made me to reign in his stead.
Right.
Now, O Lord God, let thy promise unto David my father be established, for thou hast made me king over a people like the dust of the earth in multitude. Give me now wisdom and knowledge.
Nah, man, give me a Bentley and a jet.
Wisdom and knowledge.
Give me wisdom and knowledge. So out of everything he could have asked for, because I swear if we line up 100 odd people on them streets right now and say, if you could have anything in the world, they going to say, man, I want this. It's going to be something materialistic, right? But he said, give me now wisdom and knowledge. And why did he ask for this? Keep reading.
That I may go out and come in before this people. For who can judge this thy people that is so great?
Man, so that I can rule over your people well in your eyes. Keep reading.
And Yah said unto Solomon, because this was in thine heart, and thou hast not asked for riches, wealth, or honor, nor the life of thine enemies.
So you didn't even just want revenge like a lot of our brothers want now. It's the death of the enemies, right? He said, not you didn't even ask for that. Keep reading.
Neither yet hast asked long life, but hast asked wisdom and knowledge for thyself, that thou mayest judge my people, over whom I have made thee king. Wisdom and knowledge is granted unto thee, and I will give thee riches and wealth and honor.
Wow.
Such as none of the kings have had that have been before thee.
So you asked for wisdom, but I'm going to still make you rich, and more richer than anybody has ever been, just because you sought wisdom and knowledge before the money, right? Keep reading.
Neither shall there any after thee have the like.
And there won't never be anybody who had the riches like you ever had. You know what I'm saying? Because you sought to have wisdom to rule over the people in an honorable manner, right? To be a good leader in my government. And that's important to see the characteristics that he wanted wisdom, right? To be ruling. That means that he wants to serve the people instead of being served, right? 1 Kings chapter 3. But now this world is about I. Me. It's never about nobody else. All right, we're going to start at 5 and we're going to read. Because he asked for wisdom. Go ahead. 1 Kings 3 and chapter 3 and verse 5. Go ahead.
In Gibeon, Yahuwah appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And Yah said, ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said, thou hast showed unto thy servant David my father great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit in his throne, as it is this day.
Skip down to 15. Because it's basically just saying the same thing we read. I was just getting a second witness. And then we're going to go to 15 to see how he operated as a king. Go ahead.
And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah, and offered up burnt offerings, and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house.
So me and this woman stay in the same house, right? And I was delivered of a child with her in this house. Keep going.
And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also.
So we had children around the same time. Keep going.
And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house.
So we had our children, and we was the only people in the house. Keep going.
And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it.
So this woman, she rolled over on her child in the middle of the night, right? And the child died. Keep going.
And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me.
And she stole my baby. Keep going.
While thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom.
So she swapped out the babies. Keep going.
And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the
So
king.
they was going back and forth like, nah, that dead baby yours and the living one mine. The other one say, nah, that dead baby yours and the living one's mine. So they making their arguments before the king, going back and forth. Keep going, 23.
Then said the king, The one said, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other said, Nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other.
So he said, all right, it's because by the law, you got to have 2 or more witnesses to go before somebody to accuse them of something. So now he has to use the wisdom that the Most High gave him to try to figure out a way to resolve this matter, right? So he say, well, go ahead and give me the sword, right? And I'm finna chop this baby up, right? In front of them. Keep reading, 26.
Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son.
So she felt pain. Her stomach probably fell to her feet when she seen when she heard that, right? Keep going.
And she said, O my Lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it.
Now, don't do that, King. Just go ahead and let her have the baby. Keep going.
But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided.
The wicked woman said, go on and kill it. Let's split it. This is evil. First off, you stole the woman's baby, and you got the nerve to tiptoe over there and swap it out while she's sleeping, taking a chance that she might wake up and catch you doing it, right? So he said, all right, since we don't know whose baby really is, give me the sword. We're going to cut the baby up. The real mother said, nah, man, just let her have it. You know what I'm saying? She said, nah, let's chop it up, right? Go ahead, read.
Then the king answered and said, Give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof.
He knew it. Only that mother, I can imagine how she probably said it too. Voice was probably cracking, about to cry and all of that. Keep reading.
And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment.
So he was smart and wise. This is a good leader. Because they probably thinking too, I wouldn't have never thought about that, in order to determine who was a true parent, right? But this brought fear upon them because they knew the spirit of the Most High was working in them because of how intelligent and clever that idea was, right? Let's go to, let's see here. We're going to go back to Genesis 41. We almost done, fam. So the first job that he was to do was to go out and survey the land once Joseph got his orders from Pharaoh and got his position of power. He had to go out through the land and do what I would call an inspection or a tour to survey the land. And he would have become familiar with the people who managed the agriculture, meaning he had to deal with the people, build rapport and relationships, the locations and the conditions of the fields he had to look at, the crops, the roads, the means of transportation. And I would say that it's inconceivable that Joseph would have accomplished all of this on a personal level, so he would have had to establish and oversee the training of what amounted to be the Department of Agriculture, meaning he's setting up systems like now we got the Department of Agriculture, but that's what he was establishing. I got to have people. I can't do it all by myself. So I'm going to set up these people over here. They're going to be responsible for watching over the lands and all this, because this is stuff that we don't really think about when we read the book. We just read through it, but we don't think about all the intelligence that had to go through it in order to make these things happen. And then when you really look at the world in America, you can really see how much stuff that they took from the book, how much knowledge and wisdom that they took from the book, but they use it for wickedness, right? Now, during the 7 years of abundant harvest, Joseph had the grain stored in the cities, right? Let's go to Genesis 41, and we're going to read 48 through 49.
And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years,
right,
which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same.
So he gathered up the food and stored it up. Keep going.
And Joseph gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number.
So the corn look like the sand of the sea. That's a lot of corn, right? So he going and he's storing everything up. Now during the 7 lean years that followed, Joseph distributed the grain to the Egyptians and other people who were affected by the widespread famine, right? So it was enough to feed everybody who was coming in. And after the people ran out of money, Joseph allowed them to barter their livestock for food. And this plan lasted for 1 year, during which Joseph collected horses, sheep, goats, cattle, and donkeys. Let's go to verse 13 and read through 26. So after the money ran out, he said, okay, we will set up a bartering system. That way you can still be able to eat and all that. Now, what I want y'all to see is that he's providing the needs for the people, right? So that they can sustain themselves. He's setting up the system so that everything, the Most High placed him in that position to be sold into slavery. He didn't know what was going to happen. He ended up being the governor. He come out, and now the whole world at that time is surviving off of this man who came up and was sold into slavery by his brethren. Go ahead and read 13.
42 and 13.
47 and 13.
47 and 13.
Uh-huh.
And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine.
So it's about to be a done deal for these lands, right? Keep going.
And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread. For why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth.
So they like, man, we don't have no more money to buy goods, right? So it's up to him to find a solution for the people. Keep reading.
And Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail.
So I'll trade you this. Even though you don't got the money, I'm going to make a way. Look, I'll deal with you. I'm going to help you out and give you a break. He making a way for the people. 17.
And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year.
Right.
When that year was ended, they came up unto him the second year, and said unto him, we will not hide it from my lord, how that our money is spent. My lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my lord, but our bodies and our lands.
So now we done ran through our cattle. We done spent our money. We don't have no cattle to give you. Only thing that was left is us, is our bodies and our land, right? Keep reading.
Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land?
So what, you gonna let us die? Keep going.
Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate.
So let us just be servants, workers for Pharaoh now, right? And just feed us. That's all we want in exchange. Keep reading.
And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh's.
So the famine happening so long, now they gotta sell their field. Imagine if you even having to go through this. You going through all your resources of survival, right? Keep going.
And as for the people, he removed them to cities, from one end of the borders of Egypt even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned to them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their land.
So Pharaoh had it set up for the priests that they didn't have to do that. His priests, right? Keep going.
Then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land.
So he exchanged the land and them for food. Keep going.
And it shall come to pass in the increase that ye shall give the 5th part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own, for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your households, and for food for your little ones.
So we're going to work it out like this. I'm going to give you food, you know what I'm saying, or set you up to provide for you. But once everything is set back into motion and you're able to get crops, We want 20% of that to go to Pharaoh. Keep reading.
And they said, Thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants.
Thank you. We gonna serve. You saved our lives. Last verse.
And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day, that Pharaoh should have the fifth part, except the land of the priest only, which became not Pharaoh's.
So he went from slavery to being the big man, creating laws, and he's saving everybody, right? Now, he would have had to been able to determine the value of the animals and establish an equitable system for exchange. When the food is scarce, people are especially concerned for the survival of themselves and their loved ones, providing access to points of food distribution and treating people with equity becoming focal points. And when all the livestock had been traded, people willingly sold themselves into slavery to Pharaoh and sold him the ownership of their lands as well. From the perspective of leadership, this had to be a horrible to witness, right? Because there's a lot of pressure on you. Joseph, however, allowed the people to sell their land and to enter into servitude, but he did not take advantage of them in their lack of power and in their lack of need. So instead of taking advantage of him when he seen their weakness, he had sympathy and tried to work out strategically ways that they could still be able to survive, right? Now, Joseph would have had to see that these properties were valued correctly in exchange for seed planting, because you got to make sure the Pharaoh get his in, without ripping him off, and that people still be able to survive. Let's go to Genesis 47 and 23. Let's back up to 23 and read that again.
Then Joseph said unto the people, Behold, I have bought you this day and your land from Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall
So he
sow
had
the
to
land.
know what was a fair trade, right, for the land and everything. He enacted a law that people return 20% of the harvest to Pharaoh, and this entailed creating a system to monitor and enforce the people's compliance with the law, and establishing a department dedicated to managing the revenue. And all of this, Joseph exempted the priestly families from selling their land because the Pharaoh supplied them with an allotment of food, right? Now, by applying his God-given skill and wisdom, Joseph successfully brought Egypt through the agricultural catastrophe. When the 7 years of good harvest came, Joseph developed stockpiling system to store the grain for use during the coming drought. And when the 7 years of drought arrived, Joseph opened the storehouses and provided enough food to bring the nation through the famine. His wise strategy and effective implementation of the plan even allowed Egypt to supply grain to the rest of the world during the famine. So now the Most High, again, I'm going to keep reiterating it, took him from slavery to him supplying the needs for the whole entire world, right? And in this case, Yah's fulfillment of his promise that Abraham's descendant would be a blessing to the world occurred not only for the benefit of foreign nations, but even through the industry of a foreign nation, which was Egypt. So through that promise, even then, through Abraham, blessings went out to the whole world because Joseph came through him, right? Let's go to Genesis 36. And we're going to read 31 through 34. But it's funny because the way he set up things, when you read on and you get to the Torah or the law, a lot of them same things is what the Most High established amongst the people of Israel. So Joseph was like a blueprint of what he was about to manifest and bring forth to the children of Israel. So it was like a precursor. But you see, he was a righteous ruler. He watched out for the people. He served the people when he didn't have to. Genesis 46 and 31 through 34. Ain't that what I said earlier? Oh, my bad, y'all. 46. Well, Al do it too. Don't get no attitude with me. I only did it once. He might hit you 5 times in the lesson. Genesis 46, and we're going to read verses 31 through 34. Because what we want to do is we want to go and we want to look at Joseph's family and all of that and figure out what did he do with his family once his family came. Because remember, they sold him into slavery. He can have either the attitude of, now finally get revenge because I'm in a position of power, or he could take care of his family, right? Genesis 46, we're going to read 31 through 34. Go ahead.
And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, My brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are now come unto me.
Mm-hmm.
And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle. And they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have.
So he went before Pharaoh for his brethren and said, well, hey, man, my people have come. They brought their flocks with them and all of that, right? Keep reading.
And it shall come to pass when Pharaoh shall call you and shall say, What is your occupation?
Mm-hmm. So he telling them the game. He saying when Pharaoh come to y'all and he asks y'all what y'all do, what's your occupation, I want y'all to say this. Go ahead.
That ye shall say, Thy servants' trade hath been about cattle from our youth even until now, both we and also our fathers, that we may dwell in the land of Goshen.
So he telling the specific lands and all of that, the Goshen and everything, right? And why is this?
For every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
Right. So the shepherds was looked down upon. So he giving them the game to tell them, hey, say this. That way he gonna put you over here and you ain't gonna have to deal with the servitude like the other people, right? Let's go over to chapter 47. And we're gonna pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh and said, My father and my brethren and their flocks and their herds and all that they have are come out of the land of Canaan, and behold, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took some of his brethren, even 5 men, and presented them unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto his brethren, What is your occupation? And they said unto Pharaoh, Thy servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers.
So they following his rules to the T, right? Keep going.
They said moreover unto Pharaoh, For to sojourn in the land are we come. For thy servants have no pasture for thy flocks, for the famine is sore in the land of Canaan. Now therefore we pray thee, let thy servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, Thy father and thy brethren are come unto thee. The land of Egypt is before thee. In the best of the land make thy father and brethren to dwell.
So Pharaoh was like, go take them to the best of the land, right? Keep going.
In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou knowest any men of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle.
Right.
And Joseph brought them in Jacob his father, and set him before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh.
Let's skip down to 11. So he had them to say everything. He had the key words, Goshen and all of that, which is the choice land at that time. We got our flocks. Our flocks need to eat. So Goshen was the choice land at that time. He's setting them up good, right? So instead of having hate against them, he's showing real love and putting them in the best position that they can be in at the moment, right? Read the verse 11 and 12.
And Joseph placed his father and his brethren, and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren, and all his father's household with bread according to their families.
So they came up, and then if you keep reading through, you'll see that Joseph said all of this. It's smart too. And they got the best choice land, and as the years went on, Israel thrived in Goshen until they ended up getting the new pharaohs who forgot about Joseph. Then that's when Moses get put under bondage and all of that. But for that short time, man, they was thriving in Goshen. They had the choice land. They started increasing in number. That's why they had to go into bondage, because when you start to outnumber them, they get scared. And out of fear, we got to enslave you, or you might outnumber and subdue us, right, and overtake us. Now, Joseph didn't hold a grudge against his brethren who sold him into slavery. He loved them and assisted them. And imagine when they came and they was needing assistance, they didn't even recognize their own brother. And he started speaking Egyptian to them. So when he started speaking Egyptian to him, and he eventually came at him like, yeah, I'm your brother. Imagine how scared they was. Like, dang, knowing what you did to your brother, knowing that your life could be on the line and he get revenge, but he didn't. He stood firm for his brother, right? I guess you could say he turned the other cheek in that instance. Proverbs 25 and 21, and we almost done. We got one more after this. But basically, if you're gonna be a leader of the Most High, you got to take on His ways. You know, He'll hold you tight through the hard times, and everybody will be blessed who coming around you, and everybody will love to serve you. Proverbs 25 and 21. Go ahead.
If thine enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat. And if he be thirsty, give him water to drink.
And that's what he did, because at that point in time, his brothers was his brother, but they was his enemies as well, right? But he didn't harbor that anger on them. Romans 12 and 17 through 21. Because the new really point out what was written in the old, and you got all your examples there to see, like, okay, this guy did this guy did this. Romans 12 and 17 through 21. Romans 12 and 17 through 21. And when you get there, brother, you can go ahead and read.
Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, and I will repay thee, saith the Lord.
Right, because we don't have to worry about getting revenge. The Most High will, right? Keep reading.
Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in doing so, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
Right, and that's exactly what he did with his brethren. Instead of hating them, he showed love. It was they panned out to be well. Israel thrived in Goshen at that time, even though people don't talk about it. All they do is talk about slavery in Egypt. The Most High showed us no matter what captivity we be under, He'll rise us up as long as we walk in His path and His ways. He'll give us His blessings, right? So it ain't no telling where any of us in this room might be tomorrow. If y'all be president or something, I want y'all to remember me, right? And bring me up under y'all shoulder and y'all wing. But hopefully somebody got some type of understanding about, you know, the government of Yah and examples of the leaders that were wicked and those examples of the leaders that was good, got some type of understanding and gain. Thank you for your time, family. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
That way, so if you come in at 2:30, that means you done missed 30 minutes of